the Gobble, and here we are. This is the Technical Fowl Show. I am Jonathan and this is Raj. This is Raj right here. This guy right here is Raj. He wasn't here last week, so welcome back. And then our producer Allie.
Hey guys.
Hey, Allie. Yeah. So last week we had we weren't on last week. We had a show before that. It was with our other guy, just that other guy, Kabir. He was a good guest. Thanks Kabir for doing that. We were maybe gonna have a different guest last week, but it ended up where we just didn't do a show. And so now here we are. And there's 6 days until the season starts.
I'm excited.
I am excited. Yep, it's pretty good.
I've been waiting for this for a couple months.
Well, I was hoping the offseason would go a little bit longer, just because, you know, we won last year, so it would have been nice to be the winners for. It's always nice when you're the winners.
No comment.
But yeah, so as we had been doing before, we'd been doing divisional predictions, and it looks like at this point we're not going to get through all the divisions, so we decided to instead go right into just basically playoff predictions. Just general predictions for the season, who we think is going to win MVP, all that sorts of things. Yeah, so I guess at this point, if you haven't watched the previews, you can go watch those because they got some information on them. But really, it's going to be a little bit more. What's the word?
It's more detailed.
Yeah, consolidated. We're going to consolidate all of our previous things and just basically tell you who we think is going to do what. And
starting with the East, I think Miami's going to be up top again.
You know, I don't know if they're going to win the regular season.
Well,
I really don't know. I don't think that they will.
Let's just go with the first 8. I think they're going to be at the top. I think they'll probably get the first seed again.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that they did. I think that they'll probably go to Chicago or Indiana.
Maybe Chicago did have it.
Well, they just don't have any. They don't have any reason. They don't have anything to prove. You know, they can have the games where Wade can take off a back-to-back, or he can sit out for 2 weeks, and it'll be fine.
How about this? Top 3 is going to go to Miami, Chicago, Indiana.
Probably.
Those are your top 3, whether the order is that order or not.
Yeah.
I think there's a kind of a drop off between the next 3.
Yeah. Okay.
I would say it's between Brooklyn, New York, 4 or 5. 6, 7, 8 is kind of up for grabs, in my opinion. I don't think Atlanta is.
I actually think it'll be pretty interesting. I think that we're gonna have some surprise teams that are gonna do really well, and it's gonna be like. It's going to be not quite as teams battling so much. I think one team's going to actually be like, they're going to have a good start, and maybe they're going to come back down, and so maybe they're like, for instance, the Wizards or the Hawks will be better than the Knicks or Brooklyn as a start, and then as the season goes on, they'll kind of come back down, the other team will go back up. But it won't be like in the last day of the regular season, you're going to have 5 teams that'll have the same.
Well, I mean, I think towards, again, that's 6, 7, 8. I think that's going to be between Detroit, Cleveland, if Bynum plays.
I don't think he's gonna. Well, maybe, but I don't think he's gonna. I think actually, interestingly enough, I think it'd be interesting if Bynum never plays another basketball game. It's possible because it doesn't. He looks a little bit like Odin. Like every year you hear, oh, he looks really good. He looks blah blah blah.
He hasn't played. He can't practice.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Every year they always say this is gonna be the year, and then he has a setback, and then yeah. I mean, he did play every game in the lockout season. And he was pretty good in the playoffs up until a point. I believe he was ejected from his last game that he has ever played. No. I believe he was. It was a playoff game against.
You're talking about the hip check on Brad?
Against Dallas, and I think that was the last game that he's played.
He was suspended the first 4 games of the next season, I remember.
But he didn't play.
He did play.
That was in LA?
I remember.
So that was the 2011 season, and he took out the 2012 season. Or 2013 season, so 2012. Did he play?
Either way, it doesn't matter.
A lot of the one thing I miss about Bynum is the threes. Just all the threes that he took. It was a good time watching Bynum.
Going back 6, 7, 8 between Detroit, Cleveland.
Cleveland, who has Bynum. You know what I miss about Bynum? All the threes.
Washington.
Yeah.
Toronto, maybe. Depending on how they do.
Toronto could be good. They could be good.
So there's potentially 4 teams for 3 spots. Was there one more?
Probably a couple more.
Milwaukee. Bill Simmons has Milwaukee making the playoffs. I don't think that. I mean, they do have a couple of capable players, so you never know what's going to happen. Those guys have been there in the playoffs, like Carlos Delfino, OJ Mayo. You know, these guys have been there.
None of those guys have really done anything. Let's be honest.
Neither has Toronto, neither has Washington, neither has Cleveland, neither has Detroit.
Who's the coach in Milwaukee? Is that Larry Drew?
It is Larry.
First year of Larry Drew.
So we'll see what happens.
It must be weird going from a team where you were like the head coach and then not even having like a season in between being a coach on a different team.
Happens all the time.
Not really. A lot of teams, a lot of guys sit out a year or two and then come back.
It's probably even weirder going from Boston in the playoffs to straight to Clippers next season. That's probably even weirder in my opinion. But anyway, moving on to the West.
We haven't really said what we thought about one, but I guess. I mean, they were not. This isn't news. Like these are pretty much the teams that are gonna try to win, or the teams that are gonna try to lose. The teams that are gonna try to lose: Philadelphia, Orlando. I don't know.
Speaking of
Charlotte. What about Charlotte? They could try.
Charlotte's not making playoffs.
They might.
No.
Al Jefferson.
I'm taking the 5 teams I just named ahead of them.
Al Jefferson. I think Cleveland will not. I think Anthony Bennett sucks, and I think that Kyrie doesn't have enough around him.
It depends on not Bynum. If Bynum.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not rooting. I'm not gonna base my prediction off of whether or not Bynum plays because no one honestly knows if he ever will play. But I'll take Al Jefferson.
I'm still taking the other 4 teams ahead of.
I'll take Al Jefferson over Milwaukee. What if Al Jefferson leads the league in scoring? It's possible.
Not gonna happen.
Could happen.
I'm taking Larry Sanders. Ersan Ilyasova he was finally getting his group back. Now he can start.
You never know with it. Look. Ersan has shown us just as much good as he.
Gary Neal.
Gary Neal. Then they cut him.
No, they didn't.
Then they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Pretty sure. Either that or he got injured. Something's wrong.
Nothing.
Gary Neal's out. No, that's
Nothing's wrong with Gary Neal.
That's Gary. Is that Gary Forbes?
There's another Gary. Somewhere else.
No, because these 2 Garys were on the same team for like a little while. The 2 Garys.
Taking Zaza.
Which team is he on?
Milwaukee. Remember he got such a terrible contract?
Did he? What was
not terrible. It's like he's getting paid like 3 years, $15 million for Zaza Pachulia. So we paid. He's like 32.
Is he really that old?
Yeah, he's pretty old.
You know what's interesting about which team was that? Oh yeah, the Spurs. I was just thinking about this. We're gonna go to break in a second, but before that, the Spurs. Splitter's 29.
Yeah.
And Danny Green's 27. They're not as young as everyone thinks they are. Everyone thought it was like this new, other than Kawhi, they really don't have anybody who's that young.
I agree.
Anyway, that's just a weird aside. This isn't going to be a very organized show just because, there's a lot of loose ends to fill up. And anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the West and obviously other season predictions. Welcome back.
Moving on to the West. Hey, you can't really do like the way it was for, for the East. You think pretty much for a fact unless an injury occurs.
Some teams are trying to lose.
Chicago, Indiana.
Yeah, and some teams are trying to lose, so you don't have to worry about them.
But on the West, it's San Antonio could be number 1. Oklahoma City could be 1. Clippers could even be 1.
I'm taking San Antonio. Look. Gary Neal.
I'm taking Oklahoma City was 1 last year.
Speaking of Gary Neal, we weren't speaking of Gary Neal. Kawhi Leonard though, he was I forget which preseason game, but in a certain preseason game, I think he had like 20 and like 15 or something like that. Like I think he's set for a really good year. I think fantasy, we're gonna do a fantasy basketball thing, and I think if I can get him, I'm gonna try to get him just because.
Could he win Most Improved?
Possibly win Most Improved. The only problem is that people kind of saw him last year. But yeah, I mean, if he has a good season, I think he's one of the favorites to win that award because you compare his regular season last year with his regular season this year. You can throw in the playoffs and that might change someone's vote. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's a pretty difficult. Anthony Davis could win it too because he was injured a lot last year. But people think he might have a 20-10 season, which I'd be rooting for.
I don't know.
Or Eric Gordon, speaking on that same team, he had didn't he already win it? I think he might have already won it once. He might have won it.
He did.
He might have won
I mean, that goes back to once we get to the bottom, like Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Clippers, probably the top three.
Yeah,
Golden State up there.
I would put Golden State in the top. I would make it.
So they're top four.
I would make it, no, but I would make it like I could see Golden State having a better record than the Clippers or a better record than the Spurs or something like that.
But if I were to pick, I'd still think Oklahoma City would be number one. They did lose a couple of key assets, but I think when Westbrook comes back with Durant, they will be just as good as they were before.
I'm not really a huge fan of that team following the Harden trade, and obviously with Russell Westbrook not playing, he might miss the first month of the season or whatever.
Right.
So I wasn't unless Jeremy Lamb comes in really big. I just don't see them replicating production at the shooting guard. I mean, Reggie Jackson could do it, but I think that they've kind of gone really like cost effective, and it turns out that you can't really play that way.
Houston, we should include them. It's top five because Houston could be number one too.
Yeah, maybe.
You don't really know what's gonna happen.
I think of all the stars that changed teams over the past 2 or 3 years.
I think Houston has the best chance because, like you said, Westbrook will be out for the first month.
Right. But like I said, when you look back at all the stars who've changed teams, I think that the Houston situation is probably the best for Dwight. As like a lot of teams needed some guys that come together and figure stuff out, and I think because it's just Dwight over there. I mean, James Harden.
Well, until they get rid of Amer.
Even
like you talk about how they're going to make it work, him and Amer, that's not.
Even that, no, I mean they're just saying that to save face and trade value, which is fine. But I just think that that team with the playing styles and the assets and the pieces they have around those two stars, which by the way, we should talk about this really quickly, since we're just going all around. James Harden got number 4 in the NBA player rank, ESPN's NBA player rank, which I just think is completely wrong.
I agree. I think James Harden's overrated.
I don't think he's overrated, unless
people think he's like the best shooting guard in the league.
I think that ESPN overrated him. ESPN definitely overrated him, but I don't think that I think I've got a fairly good rating in my head about how good he is. I mean, he's a good player. You take him, and he's a top 20 player, but he's not a top 5 player. Just because he gets to the line a lot, but really, he shot like 43% or something like that. I mean, he's just a volume scorer at this point. He hasn't shown anything more in that season than Kevin Martin did back in his was he in Sacramento for those years. Mm-hmm. Just a guy who can score on a team that made the 8th seed. Like, we're really gonna go for a guy like that. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I like James Harden. I think he's got a crafty skill set, but I think that a few years ago, Manu Ginobili had very similar numbers to him. And Manu Ginobili wasn't ranked top 5. I mean, if you played Manu more, they always played
Manu averaged 25 points a game.
They always played, well, he got pretty close, I would say, in a couple seasons.
He averaged 20, but he never played as much minutes.
Right, he would only play about 29, 30, 32 minutes, and Harden plays 40 minutes if he can. He plays basically every minute of the game. So I would say I think that we're gonna look back at this next year, and he's gonna be 18th or something because he had a not so productive season, or at least his expectations were too high, and so that's why I would say James Harden's not that good.
I agree.
And they haven't
but
placed.
Houston is still a good team.
They haven't placed higher than Russell Westbrook. Now,
I mean, I would take Carmelo over.
Yeah.
People knock on Melo.
Where did Carmelo end up?
First of all, I would rather Harden doesn't play any defense either. And if I'm taking one of them, I'm taking a 6'8" bulkier guy rather than James Harden.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at scoring, Carmelo is still one of the best scorers, and that's all that really James Harden can do. I mean, I would say probably James Harden maybe a little bit better of a playmaker, but he's just he's got a different skill set, and he's not as good of a rebounder. He's not as good of a, honestly, defensively.
Carmelo's a very underrated offensive rebounder.
Oh yeah, he's probably in the top 5. He's probably number 1 at the small forward. I mean, him or LeBron probably is pretty good.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone tip and miss shots.
Kawhi actually is probably pretty good, so I would say between those two. Anyway, we didn't really finish, but when we come back, we'll finish up the West and maybe give out our MVP finals predictions and all that stuff. So stick around. Welcome back. So we can finish the West. Obviously, there's the top tier teams we mentioned, and then there's
Oklahoma City, San Antonio. Clippers, Golden State, Houston. That's 5.
Right.
Not in that order.
And then there's your lower.
So that goes back to again 6, 7, 8. That could kind of be up for grabs. I don't think Denver will make the playoffs.
No.
I would rather take Minnesota.
I've been saying Minnesota's been making the playoffs for the last 2 years. So if anybody is talking about Minnesota, it's me because I think they're gonna have a good season.
I'd rather take Portland.
Oh, I don't like Portland.
I like Portland.
I like Portland if you're
Portland
looking
added a bench.
I like Portland
Finally.
if playoffs at 10 spots. I like Portland, but Portland's just gonna be I think odd man out.
Would you take Portland over Denver?
I think they were gonna be pretty close.
All right, let's break this down. Ty Lawson over Damian Lillard.
We're not breaking it down one by one. It's which team's gonna be better.
Look at the players on the team.
There's more factors that come into play.
There's a lot of factors that come into play.
Look, Denver
taking JaVale McGee and
over
Kenneth Faried over LaMarcus Aldridge and Robin Lopez.
Look, well, Robin Lopez isn't really a part of any equation.
There's a little bit of a deep.
But what I'm saying is that Denver basically every year wins about 30 games just because they're home. Just because they're home so good. So they only have to win.
This year. Look at their roster.
No, they're home. They're home just by playing in Denver gives them about 25 to 30 wins a year.
That's not going to happen now because look. First of all, Gallinari.
It's not based off of the skill
February.
of the team. It's based off of how good the team plays at home because of the altitude versus other teams.
But look at the players that they had. Like if you look at someone like Corey Brewer. Corey Brewer is not a good player, but on that team he fit perfectly because of like his energy and the excitement.
Yeah, they played at fast pace.
Yeah, the fast pace. They don't have that now.
Right.
They don't have Iguodala.
They're not as good of a team. We both agree on that.
You can't play Lawson and Robinson at the same time. You can't play Lawson and Miller at the same time.
I just don't agree. I just don't agree that just because they have some, they're not as good of a team. That's for sure. But that doesn't mean. I mean, what they were last year? They were like 4th or 5th. I think 4th or 5th in the playoffs.
6th.
Yeah, 6th, something like that. So they're not going to win 55 games, but they might win 45 games, and that could get them the 8th seed.
Maybe.
I don't think that they're that good.
But
I'm
saying I would take
them over Portland.
And I would take Portland over both.
Right.
I would even take Dallas.
Yeah. I would take Dallas. I would say.
I mean, if Dirk is same Dirk and Monte can be Monte, play Monte ball, then I would take those two over any 2 players over Denver. I think Denver's defense is
I just
stronger.
feel like you're not.
They lost their coach.
You're not taking.
They lost their GM.
Look, the team isn't based off of players. I know sometimes you miss that, but a lot of times
They lost their coach.
Right. But there's other factors. Brian Shaw isn't necessarily going to be a bad coach.
Brian Shaw said he doesn't want to play small ball. He doesn't want to run.
Right. That's fine. He's a different coach.
What are you
different
going
style.
to do? Pound it inside with JaVale McGee? You're going to lose.
No, that's he's probably meaning by play a slower style. He probably means we're going to play more defense oriented. We're not going to try. I mean, if they got a fast break.
Kenneth Faried, not a good defender.
If they have a fast
JaVale
break,
McGee, only block shots, not really a one-on-one defender.
if they have a fast break, I'm telling you, Tyler
Terrell
Austin's
Arthur,
going to go.
not a defender.
Yeah, that's not bad. But he fits.
JJ Hickson, not a defender, undersized.
He fits a great spot on a team that needs a guy to be a space shooter, Terrell Arthur. And JJ Hickson's a great interior rebounder. I mean, he's not going to block a lot of shots, but they have got JaVale. You put JJ Hickson next to JaVale, and that's not a bad 5'4". Hickson used to be able to score back in the day when he was on Cleveland and stuff like that. So.
I'm saying I don't really believe in this team.
No, I don't believe in them
I'm
either.
taking the 3 teams I just named over them.
Yeah, I think we're missing something.
I would even take, let's say Kobe Bryant comes back by Christmas and he's same as he was last year. Like he's not really slowed down. I would take LA over him. I'm taking a good.
There's zero chance that Kobe Bryant comes back and is exactly the same. I'm sorry.
It's probably like a 5%.
There's zero chance.
5.
I'm not gonna go 5. I'm gonna go 0. No wiggle room. It's not gonna happen. That's facts of the human body. People are saying, "Oh, well, these guys have great work ethic." No, he's not gonna be 60 years old and play basketball. Why? Because the human body can't do that. So sorry, people who are look. I like Kobe. I think he's probably gonna go down as one of the greatest players of all time, and we're gonna be glad to have watched him in this time. At the same time, I think that, you tear your Achilles, it ends dudes' careers. It has, and look at Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups did the same thing. When was the last time Chauncey Billups had a memorable moment?
Chauncey Billups is not Kobe Bryant.
Right, but they're both, I would say that just because, do you think that Chauncey Billups doesn't have a good work ethic, or he's not, a hard worker or something?
I would say it's not the same as Kobe's.
Right, but I'm saying, he has been completely irrelevant following that injury.
Everyone's body is different?
No. The Achilles, everybody's got the same Achilles. We've all got an Achilles.
Body's recovered.
And if you tear the Achilles, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Look.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I just said if that happens, I'm taking them over Denver.
Yeah, well, it's not going to happen. You could still maybe consider them over
I would
Denver
take New Orleans over Denver.
Oh yeah, that's true. We didn't even talk about New Orleans. I think if there's assets out there, New Orleans is going to go for it. I think they're going to try to make whatever moves they can make to make the playoffs.
I think you'll see either Gordon or Evans moved. Someone will get moved.
And look, if it works out and they have those 3 ball handlers and Anthony Davis is a great season and he becomes most improved or 20 and 10. There's no reason. I mean, he's always.
People are still forgetting Ryan Anderson.
Yeah, Ryan Anderson. He's always going to block shots for Davis.
Picked up Drew Holiday. So I'm taking that 5 over Denver's 5.
Yeah, again, though, I like them. I still like Denver over Portland. I'm not a big fan. Of Portland.
I'm only bringing this up because I mentioned this earlier. Jalen Rose and Bill Simmons are high.
Nobody cares. Why you got to plug a different show?
Why are people so high on the Nuggets?
You got to plug that show.
We're
talking about this show. Nobody's plugging. Nobody's taking Denver. You watched one prediction thing and then.
Are you high on the Nuggets?
No, I already said that. I think the Nuggets are gonna be like the 9th or 10th spot. I'm just look. I think that Denver always wins 30 games because of their home. You're gonna see this year they're gonna win 30 games. It's just gonna happen. Now how they do on the road is gonna be different. They're probably gonna lose more than 2/3 of their road games. Does that make them in the playoffs? I don't know. In the East, probably. In the West, I don't think so. But they're not going to be like
as
we
bad. Memphis.
Exactly. Yeah, Memphis.
So that's 6. So they'll only take 7 and 8 spot.
Right. So I don't think Denver gets in. I think I like so Dallas.
7-8 between Dallas, Minnesota, Portland, New Orleans, maybe the Lakers.
I'm throwing all those guys out because they all suck.
6 teams.
All those teams suck. I'm taking Dallas and I'm taking Minnesota. I think this is the year. Portland.
Portland
sucks.
Is better than Dallas.
Portland sucks. I think
LaMarcus Aldridge is the same as Dirk.
You're breaking it down player by player, and that's not how NBA works.
They got a bench.
They won 44 games last year with like Dirk playing half the year, and
they probably had a better team.
A bunch of crazy players.
They have a bench now.
I'm not saying that Portland's not going to be a better team.
Portland's issue was they didn't have a bench. They have a bench now.
I'm not saying they're not going to be a good team.
Because of that, Batum, Wesley Matthews, you guys, and
great.
Lillard don't
they're
have to play
the
as much
same
minutes.
team. They have a bench. I don't care. They're not a good team. I like Dallas more. I think Dallas is a better team. They got a better coach. They got a better everything. They got a better even a star player. Maybe this would be the year that Dirk comes back and has 28 points a game, or at least in the 25 range. Plays 75 games.
Just want to point out, Monte Ellis is averaging like 7.5 assists.
Right. Nobody likes Monte.
He's playing well. His assist ratio is really high.
Right.
Just throwing that out there. If he plays like that, why not?
Nobody likes Monte.
They can play well.
You might be the only person that I know that likes Monte.
Monte Ball.
Nobody likes Monte.
He's underrated.
He's not underrated. He's like probably like 32 by now.
He's underrated.
He is so old. All right, guys.
He's
this has been a good show. Good show. I think next week we'll have the games start next week on Tuesday. Make sure you guys watch. And then our show's back on. We're going to film on Wednesday, talk about the games. So this is the end of our predictions phase. Next week we're going to have more games-oriented things. Anyway, I'm going to have a tie next time. I left the ties because it was predictions, and I just thought it would. Preseason, like if it's going to be preseason, they're not going to try. We shouldn't try. But we did try, except for the tie. I left the tie out.
Great story. Gobble gobble.
Go Hokies.